In today's video, we are looking at the ZTE Z289L mobile hotspot. This particular device retails for $79.99 from either the Straight Talk website or from Walmart. Now, if you look on the Straight Talk website, you might notice that they have two hotspots with similar names. This one is the 289L, but you'll also notice that there's a 288L. And the difference between them is basically the coverage. This particular one is GSM, as you can see there, and what that means to you is that this one would be activated with AT&T. Now this is a 4G LTE device, so you will need to have 4G LTE in your area for you to be able to use that. But again, the 89L is for AT&T. The other one is the 288L, as I said. That one is for Verizon, and that one you would see the pink map and it would say CDMA down here. Now, the one thing to note, if you're buying this from the Straight Talk website, is that they don't tell you that. So keep that in mind. If you need Verizon, you need the 88. If you need AT&T, you need the 89. Now, of course, for you to be able to use this, you'll need to buy at least this 1 gig card, which is 15 bucks. I forget the highest amount you can get and how much that costs, but I think they have a 1 gig, 2 gig, 4 gig, and I want to say 8 gig, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Now, as far as the device goes, it's fairly simple. It's a fairly basic device. I mean, all you use this for is to connect from your tablet, phone, or computer to this so you can get internet wherever there's cell phone coverage. So that said, there's not a whole lot to it. It does look a little bit fancier than it really is. You have this LCD screen, you have some buttons down here, but really you don't do a whole lot with this itself. You basically turn it on and you connect to it, and then you use it from there. Now, the device is fairly small. Here it is with the playing card. So you can see it's basically about the size of a playing card. It's a little bit narrower than the playing card, but if you want to get an idea of the size, it's basically the size of a playing card. Now, it is a bit thick. I think that's about, it's well over ½ inch, so it's somewhere between ½ inch thick and 3/4 of an inch thick. So it is not particularly thin. It's also a little heavy for what it is, most of the weight being in the battery. So it is a little bit heavy for what it is. Now, as far as the stuff on this goes, really all it has is a charge port, and you do get the cable and the plug for that. Now, the one thing I like about this is that you can remove the battery cover, so you can replace the battery if you need to. Under the battery is also the SIM card, if you ever need a new one of them. And another thing that it has is this SD card port, which I really don't know why it needs that, or what you would use it for. I didn't see any settings on the device itself that indicates any sort of usage for that, so I really don't know what that's there for. Now, on the face of the device, you have the buttons, and of course you have the LCD screen. The LCD screen is not a touch screen or anything, so you do need to use the buttons to kind of maneuver through it. And it's got some basic menu items in here. I would say that pretty much most of them are useless. You won't use them. Probably the most important one is the prepaid one, because it tells you how much data you have left and when your due date is. It also gives you the serial number to the device when you're activating it. Of course, you also get that red card, a red card in the box that tells you this as well. And then really about the only other useful menu item on this is the device info, and you need that because it tells you what the network name is. So this is what you'll see on your computer or tablet or whatever. That will be the SID or network name that this will show up as. The other important thing is this here, this web login screen. This is basically, once you connect to this device, you would go to that site on your browser, and then that's where you can change the security settings and some other stuff, and I'll show you that in a bit. And that's really about it. One last thing to know is the admin password. When you go to that site, when you go to this site, you will need this password, and this is where you can find that. And that's about it as far as the usefulness of the menu items on the screen goes. I guess the other thing is you can see what's connected to it. Right now you can see we have one item connected to it. This will support up to 5, so you would see those listed there. Settings, there's really nothing under there other than maybe a software update, which you can check every so often. It does have a sound alert, so when something connects to it, it beeps. You can adjust that, turn it off. And then the screen timeout, how often the screen turns off after you press a button. Language. It has this Wi-Fi, but you really can't do anything there. It says something about display password current state off. I really don't know what that means. And that's about it. Lastly, there's this WPS item, which I really honestly don't know what it does. I've tapped into it, but nothing, it doesn't really do anything. And of course you have the power button. So that's about it as far as the device itself goes. Pretty simple. Once you activate it, basically you turn it on and off a couple of times, and then you connect to it from your computer, and that's about it. So anytime you want to use this thing, you turn it on, and then you connect to it just like you would any other Wi-Fi, like a router that you have at home or what have you. So next we'll show you what the settings screen looks like on this, so you can get an idea of the kind of settings that are available to you to adjust or change. So we'll take a look at that next. Okay, so now here we are at our computer that we're using to connect to our hotspot. This is a Windows computer, and this one here, that's what the hotspot shows up as. I'm not sure if you can see it too well in the video, but it's what I showed you on the screen of the device. It's TF underscore and some other stuff. They're all different, but they do start with TF underscore. So I'm already connected to it. So we'll go ahead and close this. And this is the site that I was talking to you about on the device. You will open up your browser, and then you'll enter mobile http://mobile.hotspot. So once you do that, once you're connected to it, and initially when you connect to it, it doesn't have a password. So it's open for you to connect without a password. On this site, however, you will need the password to get into it, and you get the password from the actual device itself. And I showed you that earlier. You'll go to device info, hit enter, and then you scroll until you see the admin password. So that is what you will type here when you go to this site from your browser. So we'll go ahead and do that now. Okay, so once you enter that password, you end up on this screen here, and this is basically where all of the settings to the device reside. So if you want to change the security stuff or anything like that, this is where you would do it. And this device is pretty cool because unlike the first Straight Talk hotspot, this one has a couple of additional features that the other one did not, and I'll show you that. But basically what you want to do is you want to go to settings, and it does have a wizard, which I'm not sure. We'll try to zoom in here a little bit. So it does have a quick settings wizard. If you're not terribly technical, you can just kind of follow the wizard, and that'll get you set up. But essentially it walks you through these items right here. So the first thing is Wi-Fi settings. So if you don't want the network name when this thing shows up on your wireless. If you want to change that to something else, then that's where you could do that from. The other important item on here is the security settings. So as you can see here, this is where you would set the password to the device. So initially this comes like this. It comes open like that. So you want to change it to I personally use WPA2, and then here you'll type in a password that's up to 8 characters, and then you apply. Now if you're not needing to use multiple devices, then you can set max network connections to 1, and then nobody else will be able to connect other than yourself. Another nice setting on this device is the whitelist. And the whitelist basically, if you have it set to, for example, 5 devices, you can come here to this whitelist and you can enter the devices that are allowed to connect to it. So what you'll enter here, automatically it'll pick up the device that's connected to it. So that will automatically be added to the whitelist. But you can add, you'll need the MAC address from the device, and you'll enter that in here, and that's how you'll add it to the whitelist. So it will only allow the devices that are on the whitelist to connect to it. So now there we are, there's the whitelist. So you can see here MAC address, you can add or remove devices, and you can do a bit of a search on what a MAC address is if you don't know what that is. But you can enter whatever devices you want to allow onto this here. So next, another cool feature which I found, and that's the firewall. So if you're a gamer, for example, and not that I would use this for gaming because it is expensive, but you can do port mapping, which basically allows you to connect from the outside directly to a port that you set up on the computer. So if you need something, if you need that for games or whatever, that is available on this. It is not available on the other earlier Hotspot from Straight Talk. So I think that's about it. There's some other settings here but they're not really all that important. Let me zoom out here. I've shown you the important ones, which are basically the security, the whitelist, and this port mapping if you need it. But here is your basic router information. This is, I wouldn't mess with this too much, but this basically has the IP address to the hotspot and the DHCP stuff, which if you're not familiar with that stuff, I would definitely leave that alone. And that's really about it as far as the device goes and setting it up. So setting it up is pretty easy. Again, once you hook it up with Straight Talk, once you activate it there, you basically just come here, and again, if you're not terribly technical, then you can just go through this quick setup, and it's basically just kind of a little wizard of what you need to do. And if you do nothing else, if you don't change anything else, you definitely should set up the security. Otherwise, if you leave it on open, anybody will be able to connect to this thing. So now lastly is, how well can I browse with this? What websites can I go to? And the answer is, you paid for a gig, so you can go to any website that you want. The speed is fairly good. It's not quite as fast as your home router, but it is a lot faster than the standard 3G mobile hotspots out there. So if you see the other standard 3G or hotspot, this one is a whole lot faster. But again, you do need to have LTE coverage in your area. So here we have YouTube. As you can see, this plays nicely. Again, when you load websites, there is a little bit of a lag because it's not as fast as your home router would be. but everything does load fine, and I am pretty satisfied with the speed of it. So that's YouTube, no problems there. You can browse to any website that you want. It's all open, but do keep in mind that of course you do have that limit that you paid for, and it is expensive, and the data does get eaten up quite fast when you do videos and such. So I would not watch a whole lot of videos on this thing, otherwise you'll be burning up through data really fast, and it's just not worth it. So what I would say is that this thing is really more useful for just regular kind of casual browsing when you're away from a Wi-Fi source. Say you're out in the middle of nowhere and you have a cell phone signal. This thing is cool for that. Also cool as a backup if your Wi-Fi ever goes down, that kind of thing. But it is quite pricey, so I would not, sit here watching Netflix on it all day, or it's going to cost you a fortune. I think that about wraps up the video. My thoughts on it are that this is a really nice device for the money. It isn't waterproof, shockproof, or anything like that, so you do have to be careful with it. It's easy to use, it's easy to set up, and it's very easy to get it activated with Straight Talk. Overall, I'm very pleased with it. Speeds are fairly good, but that will depend on your coverage area. Websites like video websites like Netflix do take a bit to load, but they do load and you can watch videos. But do keep in mind that you are limited to the amount of airtime that you buy.